sir. Sure.
Perfect. Welcome all of you to this session. We are here basically to discuss strategies for CAT 2020 and 21, how you should be going about with your CAT test preparation, and what are the sections that you need to focus. All the questions that all of you had sent me, I have compiled it in an Excel sheet, and those are the questions that I would be asking. So the questions that you have sent it forward to us is all the questions that I would be asking. At the end of the session of 10-minute or a 15-minute, any questions that I might have missed, I would love you to ask them. The way you would be asking the questions is via the chat. You would be asking the questions to me on the chat box, either through Facebook or through Zoom. And I'll be asking the same questions to Mukul, and Mukul and I, both of us, would be answering the questions together. Perfect. I hope the modus operandi for the session is okay with all of you. Now to start with, Mukul, I have known Mukul for almost the last 1 year. Mukul joined us Career Launcher in May 2019, if I'm not wrong.
June somewhere.
April, May 2019. Now to give you Mukul's introduction, Mukul is an MBBS graduate and he is a practicing doctor as well. Now, Mukul was born and brought up in Jamshedpur. He comes from a family of academicians. He completed his schooling from Loyola School, and his consistent academic performances showed him amongst the toppers in the school. With the aim of becoming a doctor, Mukul joined Kasturba Gandhi Medical College, Manipal, and graduated as the gold medalist of his batch. After graduating, Mukul has worked in the healthcare organizations of varying scales and nature, undertaking diverse roles and responsibilities. His rich work experiences ranging from healthcare, NGOs to private tertiary hospitals such as TMH and Medica in Jamshedpur. After his initial stint as a medical officer and a doctor, Mukul decided to pursue a career in management and appeared for CAT 2019. His first attempt to CAT in 2019, he was the Jharkhand topper with 99.91 percentile. He simultaneously also appeared for GMAT, and he was called for the interview for ISB. He has cleared his ISB interviews and has been selected at the Indian School of Business. He has received calls from all the IIMs, the A, B, C, L, I, K, you name the IIM. He has received a call from all the IIMs. So you technically would be listening from the horse's mouth as to how to go about with your preparations for CAT. But he would be amongst the people who has just taken CAT, fresh with his experiences, and I hope he would be able to give you a very good perspective of how to go about CAT. So listen to him carefully, have a pen and paper in hand. If you feel there are some points worth noting down, make a note of them, and then let's see how we can benefit from this session. I hope all of us are okay, good. Mukul?
Yes, sir.
Throwing you a string of questions and what the students have sent across to me, and I hope everything goes fine during the session. Perfect, Mukul?
Perfect, sir.
Perfect. So the first question, Mukul, a lot of students have asked me, like, Mukul was a medical professional from MBBS to MBA. What prompted you to do an MBA?
So very good evening to all of you, first of all, and thank you, sir, for the wonderful introduction. I'd like to mention something that is relevant to all of us and not me. Irrespective of what academic background you all are coming from, and that is that MBA is not a goal in itself. It is merely a means to reach your final goal. So during my time working as a doctor for about 2.5 years, when I started the preparation, there were instances and experiences which made me realize that I gravitate more towards the management and strategy side of healthcare rather than the clinical side. Hence MBA, because MBA is a stepping stone for me to reach my ultimate goal, which is entrepreneurship in the healthcare sector. So through my clinical experiences, I have gained the skills and knowledge that I had to. Now what I need is a business understanding, skills, knowledge, and experience of business aspect of healthcare, which I believe, MBA from ISB will help me through.
Perfect. So, Mukul, you are trying to say that MBA is team independent. Whether you're a doctor, engineer, a commerce graduate, an arts graduate, or a science
Totally.
graduate, everyone is good to go for MBA.
They are good to go for MBA. And if you think about it, right now you might not realize it, but your aim is not exactly to just do an MBA. That's not where the journey ends. Basically, the journey starts from there. Say you're an engineer, you're a computer engineer, you want to work in Google, you want to work in Google as a software engineer. So maybe you want to work in Google as a manager, something like that. So an MBA will be your pathway to reach there, right? So MBA is a stepping stone. It's the means to reach your goal. And that is why it is field agnostic. Anyone coming from anywhere can do an MBA until the only criteria is that they're clear in their head what they want to do after that.
Perfect, Mukul. Perfect. So let's say I move down to the second question of mine. A lot of the people have been asking me, is CAT preparation possible in the 5-6 months that we have? So when did you start your preparations for CAT?
So I joined the classroom coaching batch in CL in June. I think my first class was somewhere in the second week of June. And I remember when I joined, I was still serving my notice period. So I was still parallelly working. I had some 3 weeks of notice period left, something like that. And so, somewhere basically around this time, as we speak, last year, end of June to July is where I started an unhindered MBA preparation. And especially me, people would relate coming from a non-engineering background, someone who's not touched mathematics after school. It is totally possible. That is what I would say at this stage. And my answers to the subsequent questions will probably give you a better understanding as to how it is possible.
Perfect. So you are saying 6 months is good time to prepare for CAT.
Yes, totally. 6 months of focused preparation is perfect in my opinion. If people who started earlier, they even better. But anyone starting now is not at any kind of disadvantage.
Perfect. Now, let's say another question that one of the students had put forward, like after going through the syllabus and having attended some of the CL classes, so with 5 months in hand, what was your strategy to go about with the CAT preparations? How did you go about what was your strategy for the examination in the next 5 months?
Right. So see, it's a bit of a vague and broad question. So I would right now to answer this, I would say, I'll just talk about my broad strategy. So let's say, the month of June, July, most of August is what I spent mostly on trying to cover the syllabus. Okay, when I say syllabus, mainly the theory aspect of it, the concepts, which is mostly there in quant. You don't have much syllabus per se in VARC and LRDI. The first 2 to 3 months were mostly focused on getting the concepts and the basics right. Somewhere in the end of August, maybe beginning of September is when I started taking mock tests. Initially, I started slow, started with once a week. And then as the months progressed, I increased the number of mocks. So basically to break the strategy into 2 halves in these 5 months, if we have to say, first 2.5 months, predominantly concepts, theory, and foundation. And second 2.5 months, predominantly practice. These are not individualistic things. Both halves will have both things, but predominantly foundation in the first half and predominantly practice in the second half.
Perfect, Mukul. So let's say one question that I like on a personal note, I like to know how many mocks did you take before you took the actual CAT exam?
So I had heard a lot of numbers. Okay, so when I embarked on this journey, it was completely new for me. I spoke to a lot of people. Some people gave me a number. I received numbers ranging from say 3 to 4 mocks to 45 mocks, and I really didn't know what is the correct number, and I still don't know what is the correct number because there is no one correct number. See, the aim with mocks is, it is not a mechanical exercise that, you just end up giving 50 mocks and you'll do well. It doesn't work like that. The purpose of mock, it's a dress rehearsal, right? It is a it's an opportunity for you to make all your mistakes and learn from them and to improve upon them, right? So someone might be able to get to where they want in 15 mocks, someone might take 30. I personally gave somewhere to the north of 20, say 24 mocks, somewhere around that. And I think, somewhere around 20 mocks would be a good number to keep in mind.
Okay, so one
Till the end. So 5 months, 20 mocks, not a very big deal, I think.
Okay, so one learning that we can have as a benchmarking strategy is 20 mocks, I would say.
Yeah. That would be a good number to keep in mind. Yeah.
Perfect, Mukul. Mukul, one thing that again is like people want to practice. You would generally be practicing all these sections in a day. Fine. So how would you manage your time practicing all these sections in the day? And how to keep the accuracy factor in mind and looking at the speed at the same time?
So, okay, these are two questions. Let's deal with them one by one. So, talking about managing 3 sections in a day, I would suggest to start small. Start with small but attainable goals. Okay. Keep in mind that you need to touch upon all 3 subjects, all 3 sections in a day. Because what happens is, we get carried away. We tend to either focus more on our strong section or our weak section, but that is not going to work because you need to perform equally well in all 3 sections if you really want a good score in CAT. So the way I started, I started with a minimum 30 minutes of reading. But we'll come into detail about reading, okay? So right now, 30 minutes of reading per day minimum. Increase it to 1 hour, 1.5 hours as we go along, plus 2 to 3 RC passages. This is for the VARC section. Then you come to LRDI, 2 sets of LR, 2 sets of DI daily. That's it. If you start with that. And when you come to quants, say anything to the north of 20 quant problems per day. So whatever I've said right now, if you really sit and calculate, it's not going to take you a lot of time to do these 3 things. You start slow, start with a small attainable goal of these 3, and then you keep assessing yourself. Okay, as weeks pass, you would realize that, okay, I need more practice in VARC, I need more practice in quant, and then you reallocate your time, increase or decrease time per section depending on that.
Perfect. And
the next question. See, the next one is actually a very interesting and very important question. So it talks about accuracy and speed, right? So the thing is, accuracy and speed, firstly, they are highly correlated. Okay? There's a positive correlation between the two of them. And often you would hear, by now also you might have heard, to ace the CAT, you need to play to your strengths and all that. That is true. But I would be the devil's advocate and I would like to say that to ace the CAT, you need to be equally aware of your limitations. Okay? When we were preparing GP sir hai CLK, उन्होंने बहुत ही अच्छे शब्दों में बोला था कि अपनी औकात पता होना चाहिए. It's very important for a CAT aspirant. That why I say this is, where do we lose on accuracy and speed? It is on the questions that we get wrong. Okay? The aim is to get as many correct answers and avoiding as many mistakes as we can, because the questions that we attempt and get wrong, one thing, we get a negative for that. Other thing, we waste time on that question that we could have used on solving an perhaps an easier question. Okay? So one training that you have to give yourself through practice is how to identify the questions that you have to leave. There are many times we start a question, we spend 3 to 4 minutes on a question, and then we realize that, oh, yahan to phas gaye. We are stuck and we have to leave that question. You have to flag those questions. Make a mental note of all the times these things happen. Okay, you started a question, got stuck. By practice, you would realize that, okay, these are the types of questions which I'm better off leaving them. Inse dur raho, I'll be better off. Okay? On the day of CAT, they ask us to leave our cell phones, our wallets, everything outside. There's one more thing that a CAT aspirant needs to leave outside the examination hall, and that is his ego. ठीक है, CAT aspiration का कोई ego नहीं होता. You do not get attached with any question. ठीक है, no question is more important than the other questions. All questions are equal weightage. तो ये ego नहीं होना चाहिए कि oh मेरा college में या school में ये strong point था. I was very strong in say geometry. So geometry का question तो I will solve. It doesn't work that way. There is no ego. You have to pick the easier questions. You have to solve them. That is the best way to improve accuracy and स्पीड. जज्बाती नहीं होना है एग्जाम में. There's no emotional attachment with any question. All questions are equal.
Perfect. Well said, Mukul. You have to drop your ego and you don't get attached to a question. That's very well said. Mukul, you understand these are COVID times. Again, moving on to the next question that I have. These are COVID times. People are locked in into for the last 3 months, 4 months. And I have received a lot of people saying how to stay motivated during my CAT preparation. There are times when I feel completely demotivated. I don't have anyone to speak to. I don't have anyone to talk to. Maths mere se nahi banta hai. Let's put it like this. Now, as a doctor and as a person who has cleared CAT, how would you suggest people to stay motivated? That would possibly be the most important answer that a lot of people would need.
Right. See, this is actually a very important question, and I'd like to take it in two halves. Okay. First, let's talk about a general way to keep yourself motivated. Let's forget COVID is there. Okay. So again, I mentioned this before. I'll say this again, that start small, keep small realistic goals. Do not expect to get a 99 percentile on your first practice test or your first mock, and do not expect to know everything on day one. That is not going to happen. It doesn't work that way. No one who's done well in CAT scored greatly in their first couple of mocks, so that is totally fine. Okay. Second thing that really helped me was to cultivate a good study group, a good friend group. Okay. Not everyone has the same skills and strengths, right? Someone might be good in English, someone might be good in quant, someone might be good at puzzles. That's how things work. So having a good group of different individuals who are skilled at different aspects will really help you motivate each other, learn from each other, discuss questions, discuss strategies, take effective breaks in between. It's very important to de-stress, recharge yourselves. It's important to chill out in between. Take your breaks with your friends. There's one more thing that we ignore. We actually overlook many a times. You've got some great faculty at your disposal, right? But we have this in our head that faculty's role is only limited to classes and teaching. But I don't think it ends there. Interact with your faculty beyond classes. Set up times with them. I'm sure they'll comply. Once a week, talk to them where you're going wrong, where you need more help. If you're feeling low, if you're feeling demotivated, speak to them. We don't usually extract the maximum out of their experience and guidance, but we should. That is really going to help out in the long run. And lastly, on this point, I would say that, do not compare yourself with anyone else. Most of the negativity stems from that. Remember that it is your journey. Your aim is to improve upon your last performance. If you can improve on yourself, the competition will take care of itself. Most of the times we are stuck in this rat race, ye kya kar raha hai, wo kya kar raha hai, isko kitna aa raha hai. I don't think, don't fall for that. So it is your journey, focus on that. Now, so you mentioned COVID. So yes, COVID is the reality. But I think I can safely make this hyperbole that each and every human being on the planet right now is affected, impacted by COVID. Right? You or me, we are not special and we are not alone in this. Everyone in some way or the other is impacted. So, from a preparation angle, actually, again, to give you a different perspective, I see certain advantages with COVID. Malls band hain, theaters band hain, there are no restaurants open, no parks, no clubs. कहाँ जाओगे? कितना ही Netflix देख लोगे यार घर पे बैठ के? You will get saturated with that too at the end. You have more time at your hand, right? You have time and you have less distractions. That is actually I would say, a blessing in disguise from one aspect. So use that time. Okay, use that time to focus on what is in your hands. Preparation is in your hands. COVID is not. I think some of you might be getting such thoughts. Exam kaise conduct hoga? Cases are rising. Whether it will be online or I don't know, whatever some thoughts come. But forget about that. Okay, CAT ke pehle there are a number of national level exams to take place. Okay, September mein NEET hona hai, JEE hona hai. Authorities will figure that out. That is not your job. How logistics will take place, how things will work out in November, you don't have to bother about that. It's a very cliched saying that every crisis comes with an opportunity, but to an extent it's true. It's your job to figure out how to exploit this opportunity of time that you have in hand and make the best out of it.
Perfect, Mukul. Perfect. Now let's say, now my goal, another question that came to me, if let's say I want to score a 95 percentile in the CAT mocks, what is the percentile that I should be scoring now, let's say 5 months or 4 months earlier? And how do I
ठीक है.
calibrate like let's say if my target is scoring a 95 percentile in the mocks, so July what should be there, August what should be there, or September, October what should be there? And then let's say if you can answer कि 99 percentile लाने के लिए कितना target होना चाहिए, that would be really nice.
So the first mock that I took was somewhere in first week of September, if I remember right, and my score was somewhere some 80 percentile something. Don't remember exactly. That was the first mock that I had taken. And when I taken that mock, I remember I had the same question in mind, and I was a little worried as to what this means and what will go ahead. And I remember after my mock, I went to Sandeep sir. I don't know whether sir remembers or not, and he told me that day that at this point, do not really bother about the percentile number that comes out. At this point, it's not the most important figure. At this point, what is important is to find your mistakes and your strong areas, work on them, and to keep improving your percentile number in the subsequent mocks. I would focus on the percentile that you're getting maybe somewhere second half of October. Okay, say exam is last week of November, so 1 month before, second half of October, what you're getting in your mocks, that number I would take that seriously. But right now, give your mocks. Don't miss any mock, whether you're prepared or not. Because see, remember one thing: there are two sections: English, VRC, and LRDI, where as such there is no syllabus where CAT is concerned. Okay, there is nothing, no formula or no concept that you don't know. You can attempt each and every question in these two sections. जहां तक बात है क्वांट की, there will be certain topics you've not covered. Don't bother. जितने टॉपिक्स कवर हुए हैं उनके क्वेश्चंस को आंसर करना मॉक में, बट गिव द मॉक्स, गिव द प्रॉक्टर्ड मॉक्स, एंड फॉर दीज 2 months आई वुड से जुलाई एंड ऑगस्ट, डोंट बॉदर अबाउट योर परसेंटाइल. Focus on your mistakes and try to improve them. Come September, come October, and then you try and get above 90 percentile in the CL mocks. See, CL mocks, what I experienced, in my opinion, the level of difficulty was higher than the actual CAT exam, and that is a good thing. You need that in a mock test, because the mock test is not more difficult. Your preparation won't be at that level. So if you're getting somewhere to the north of 90 percentile in CL mocks in October, then if you have a good day on CAT, anything is possible.
Perfect, Mukul. Perfect. Now I'll move across to the sections, because a lot of people are having, different students are having different problems with respect to different sections. Now, starting with the way CAT takes the examination, the first comes the verbal ability section, the next is the DILR section, and then basically how to prepare for the verbal ability section and how to put with RCs, reading comprehension passages, because a lot of people get stuck with RC passages. So what was your preparation strategy with respect to RC passages and the verbal ability section of CAT?
So VARC, in CAT it's very simple, right? There are 24 RC questions, and the remaining are your summary types, odd one out, and parajumble. So last few years, this has been a fixed format. So clearly RC is the more predominant part of VARC. Now, first let's discuss few general tips about VARC, right? And this point cannot be overemphasized, that you have to, it's a mandatory thing, you have to develop a reading habit. You cannot do without that, okay? And by reading, I mean, see, what helped me the most was reading newspapers. I would tell you what I read, but they are not the only sources. There are a number of sources. The sources, the list of sources you can get from Sir, the comprehensive list. But I read the Hindu, I read the Guardian. These are the two papers that I really found easy to read, and I like the language and everything. Now, even in the newspapers, I would suggest that the editorial section is most important according to me. Business section is important. And beyond that, as much as you can read. When reading is concerned, now there's a term that comes. It's called eclectic reading. मतलब क्या है इसका? Eclectic reading means that reading stuff of different genres. ठीक है, variety. You need to read variety of topics because RC is a segment which has no boundaries. They can pick a passage from anything under the sun. So what usually happens is that you would notice if you pay attention that our reading speed, our ease of comprehension, it increases if the topic is familiar to us. So the aim in these months is to familiarize us with as many different topics as possible. Read sports, read politics, business, arts, culture, language, literature, read biology, read anything you can lay your hands on. You need to have some familiarity with different topics so that in your test, when something weird comes, you're not totally stumped. Okay, I had a problem with this. I coming from a medical background, I did not have much knowledge about economics and finance. So I made it an effort to read economic times, you know, particularly so that I get a familiarity because there are a lot of economic passages in RC. So this was a bit of a general thing. Now coming to RCs, there are, there's a concept. I've heard few of my friends and few students saying that, okay, there are 5 RCs. Maybe I'll choose the 4 easiest one. The one I find difficult, I might leave that because anyways, I'm not going to attempt all questions. My opinion is that leaving one entire RC is not an option at all. Under no circumstance should you leave an entire RC, however difficult the passage might seem to you. एक बार पढ़ के कुछ भी नहीं समझ में आया, फिर भी you don't leave that because even in the most difficult RC, there will be 1 or 2 very easy sitter questions. So your aim is to find those easy questions and answer those from the difficult RCs. देखो RC के लिए ना, I'll tell you something non-technical. The way I approached it, my mindset. One advantage with RC is that there are no formulas, no calculation. कोई syllabus नहीं है. RC is like a treasure hunt where the answer is in the passage and the clues are in the question. तुम्हारा काम है उस आंसर को खोजना. If you get that mindset now that it's a treasure hunt, have fun with it. I think जितना daunting लगता है, RC will become much easier.
Perfect, Mukul. Well said. Well said. It is a treasure hunt with all the clues inside the question in the passage itself. Perfect. So one question that comes to mind here is, other than solving RC passages, let's say, and other than solving questions on English, the VA section, how much time did you spend on reading? Let's say when you mentioned eclectic reading, how much time did you spend on reading every day?
So 1 hour of Hindu or Guardian was a fixed from August onwards, July, August onwards. That is something I did every day. Then as I practiced RCs, as I gave mocks, I realized that there are few domains where I'm getting stuck. Like any passage on economics, I used to get stuck. So then for few days, I put in effort. I read specifically economic articles. Similarly, philosophy was something I found difficult. Philosophy articles I found difficult. So then I tried to familiarize with myself with that. Read few articles on that. So you have to have your, and this 1 hour might be different for different people. Based on your ease and comfort with English as a language, you might need a little more, a little less. But see, there's no getting around consistency. You have to do it every day. Like it's not that okay, 2 घंटा आज पूरा पेपर पढ़ लिया फिर 1 हफ्ता नहीं किया. That is not going to work because it has to be a habit that you have to inculcate. So and I found answering. So there are a lot of RC passages in the aspiration portal that we had. Of course, you would be having the same. So I found practicing and answering questions more useful because I was able to apply. A lot of times, you're just reading, but you don't know that okay, if I'm going to quiz you on this passage, what is going to happen? So 1 hour of reading plus practicing RCs, that really helped me, be confident in VRC.
Perfect. So let's say on a regular note, the test gym section of Career Launcher that Career Launcher provides, before you took CAT, what was the percentage of the test gym on RCs and the sectional test that you had completed? If you can give me a number, like a percentage number, so that would again be a target that these people need to achieve.
I don't remember exactly now, but yeah, see, RCs by the end of it, I had tried to solve all of them.
Okay.
And see, yeah, one thing I would like to mention, it is a general suggestion that, very early I realized that uh, most of your practice and your studying needs to be on the screen, because your ultimate exam is going to be on a computer, right? So if you spend 3-4 months studying on books and paper alone and not taking tests and practice questions on the screen, it is going to be difficult towards the end. So inculcate a habit to uh, practice on the screen from now only. For that, there's something called topic tests in the aspiration portal, right? They are timed questions. So don't bother about the time. If that gives you a fear or anxiety that अरे 20 मिनट में 7 question नहीं होगा, forget about the time. Just solve those questions as practice questions. Okay, in that I would say RCK by the end of it, attempt to solve all of them. Quant में, there are sections, easy, medium, hard, something like that. They divide the questions like that. Easy and medium, try to do all. Even if you can't do the difficult ones, it's okay. Same with LRDI. There'll again be easy sets, medium sets, difficult sets. Try to do all the easy and medium sets by the end of November. And difficult sets, if you can have a look at few, it's okay. Even if you can't, it's fine.
Perfect, perfect, Mukul. Now, moving on from the verbal ability section to the DILR section, because DILR in CAT, if you see in the last 3-4 years, it has been decently difficult. Not difficult, but complex, and a lot of students have not been able to ace it that well. So, assuming the same happens this year, so let's say, how did you prepare for the DILR section?
So yeah, let's assume that it's going to be the same this year. Don't even think for a minute that DLR is going to be easy. The last 4 years, as sir correctly said, DILR has been, the level of difficulty has increased, right? So there are 8 sets, 4 LR, 4 DI. This is a general pattern we all know, right? So during the initial phase, this is the correct phase to try out as many different type of sets and different type of uh, DILR questions as you can. As far as DI is concerned, try and solve sets of all types of graphs. Okay, from bar charts, histogram, your pie charts, line graphs, your dot plots, mixed graphs. Okay, but I don't want to discourage you, but itna karne ke baad bhi, the graph that I got in my last year's CAT was something called a spider diagram. Again, it was very easy, but a lot of people just didn't attempt that because it was something so different. So you can never cover everything in DLR, but you don't have to also. Try and familiarize yourself with the most common ones. I mentioned the DI K topics. Coming to LR, there are few things that will be there. Okay, so something like games and tournaments, they will be there. Something like arrangements, both linear and circular. Something like Venn diagrams. So there will be, sets from one of these three. 2 sets from one of these three will be there. So this is a time when you can try out all these types and identify your strong areas, because very rarely will there be a person who will be strong in both DI and LR. Like I was more comfortable with LR. So identify your strong areas, then the approach in DI LR, what you do से ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है how you do this section. So usually if you analyze last 3-4 years के papers, out of the 8 there are 3 easy sets, there are say 2 to 3 medium sets, and there are 2 to 3 difficult sets in DILR. The entire aim is to identify those sets. See, if in the exam someone told you, oh, set number 2, 5 and 7 are the easy ones, everyone would be able to solve them. But the trick here is to be able to identify, pick which is the easy one, which is the medium, and which is the difficult that you have to leave. So here again, there are 2 approaches, right? First is that you take the initial 5-7 minutes of the DLR section and you go through all 8 DLR sets. Skim through the questions, skim through the data, skim through the sets, and see, this will not come overnight. So right now you might think that what I'm saying, this is exactly what I felt when I was told the first time about this. This will need practice, but when you do that, when you skim through the sets, you will get an idea. Okay, this is an easy set, I'll be able to solve it. So give the first 5-7 minutes, get a hang of the entire section, make a mental notes of the first 3 sets that you want to solve, the 3 easiest according to you, go for that. After that, if you get time, well and good. Other approach that some people prefer is that, they go head on. They read the set. If they think they are able to solve it, they jump right in. Both methods are fine. There's no correct method. It depends upon what suits you. Again, I would say mocks are the place where you try all these things. एक mock में एक method try करना, दूसरा में दूसरा करना, तीसरे तक you will get to know which one suits you. So for me, the first one suited me. I used to take the first 5-7 minutes, read all the sets, and then decide my order, and then go for it. But yeah, also all the mocks and sectionals that you give, in CL mocks, there will be times that mock me you will be able to solve maybe one set out of 8. There were 3 or 4 mocks consecutively where I could solve one. That's it. Don't get disheartened. CL mock ka LRDI is difficult, and it is difficult to prepare you for what's going to come in CAT. So, it is good that it's difficult. But what is important is after the mock, you are supposed to solve all 8. Go and try all the sets and then make a mental note. कि अच्छा इसमें ये वाले easy थे, ये medium, ये difficult. I should have done this, should not have done this. When you do this for 5-7 mocks, when you after the mock analyze and calibrate which is easy, which is difficult, then you will get the hang of what I'm talking about. How to pick the sets based on difficulty. And see, this is a difficult. See, LRDI is a make or break section according to me. When I started my mocks, among the 3 sections, LRDI used to be my poorest section. And if you see my final CAT result, LRDI is my best section. So this is again a section where you can improve your score tremendously. But it will take time. It took me, even in the last month, I was not sure how to pick the sets. But yeah, somewhere along the line that magic will happen and you will get the hang of it.
Perfect, Mukul. One thing that while you were talking, Mukul, it struck my mind. A lot of students have come down and told me, he said, I lose a lot of stamina after having completed the LRDI section. So by the time quant start, I've technically lost all my energy. So what would be your suggestion for students to conserve their energy and go in full spirits or in high spirits for the quant section?
No, I totally feel you when you're saying this because, this happened to me a couple of times. And when I analyzed it later, I realized that, you feel drained out and worn out mostly when, during the section, there are times when again we get invested. And for half an hour, I have gone behind one LRDI set only. Okay, there's a tendency to think that, okay, see, what happens is that there are times you will choose the wrong set. अब तुमने गलती से गलत सेट उठा लिया. You have given 10-12 minutes to it, but you're not making any headway. Now what does a person do? Now this is real life situation, right? You have to take a decision whether to move to the next set or continue. So the first thought naturally that comes is that, I have spent 12 minutes already. Let's see, maybe in 10 more minutes I'll be able to solve it. अब क्या होता है, you end up spending 25 minutes on that set, शायद उसके बाद भी वो नहीं बनता है. That is when the frustration and the weariness that sets in. ठीक है. Here there's a concept of sunk cost. जो economics वाले हैं वो मेरे से बेहतर जानते हैं इसको. See, if you spend 10, 12, 15 minutes on a set and you feel you're making no headway, that is your sunk cost. उसको भूल जाओ, move to the next step. ठीक है. अगर economics वाले कोई नहीं है तो पोकर खेलते हो. अगर कोई पोकर खेलते हैं तो उनको समझ में आएगा. You're playing for a straight draw, you have bet 500, ठीक है. लेकिन you didn't get the cards that you were expecting and last round में you're going to lose. But show के लिए your opponent has bet 200 more. अभी इसमें क्या होता है at this point? We feel यार 500 तो लगा ही दिया है, 200 और लगा देते हैं, show देख ही लेते क्या होता है. But no, the match does not dictate that. You will not win. तो वो 200 बचाना है. That 500 is anyways gone. तो जो time चला गया है, that is sunk cost. Forget about it. Move ahead. ठीक है. And the second thing that again you have to practice is compartmentalization. ठीक है. All 3 sections are different. And one great section can really change your fortunes in CAT. So even if say LRDI does not go as well as you had expected, but a phenomenal quant can pull up your percentile like anything. So you have to keep that in mind, motivate yourself saying that कि नहीं, ठीक है, अगर मेरा LRDI थोड़ा कमजोर रह गया, I can pull myself up through quant and move ahead with that attitude.
Perfect, Mukul. There are some sunk costs which we need to forget. Okay. Now, another question that is there on DILR that students have given to me is, what were the best sources to practice on logical reasoning and data interpretation? And what anything extra that needs to be done in order to strengthen it?
So LRDI, I used only two sources. One were the problems in the CL books and the class sheets. The class sheets were actually quite good. The class sheets had different kinds of problems. They had very nice variety. And the second was the aspiration portal LRDI questions. Believe me, I tried my best. I could not complete all the sets in the aspiration portal of LRDI. There are so many LRDI sets in that portal. If you just stick to that, the easy, medium, and difficult, and try and solve as many sets in the portal as you can, you will be good. You don't need a third book. I would suggest not to diversify yourself too much in LRDI, because LRDI it is also important to come back to the sets that you solved. एक बार कर लिया, you forget about it. It doesn't work like that. You solved sets, you have to revise them periodically so that to get the hang of that logic, get the hang of that thought process, how you approach it, how you reach the solution. So the class sheets, the class books, and your aspiration portal is more than enough material for you to practice your LRDI.
So whatever you have at hand, do it complete rather than look for multiple sources. Is what
you won't be able to complete that too. If you can complete it, I give you a guarantee you will love this section.
Perfect, perfect. Now I think I'll move towards the quant section. So the most important question is, I am not an engineer. That's it. The most important question. So how to tackle quants? I am not an engineer. How to tackle quants? What all topics in quants are important? So this is one of the favorite questions that I have come across over my teaching in at CL over the last 10, 12 years. Is as an engineer, how do you non-engineer? How do you tackle quants?
So I'm not an engineer, clearly.
So that is why this question comes to you.
Yeah, so before I started, this was one of my fears, that how am I going to tackle quant and compete with engineers who probably find it easier. But I think this suggestion goes for all, engineer or non-engineer. What I did was keep it simple. Okay, there are 34 questions in quant, and if I can 1918, so 2018 का जो CAT paper था, 17 correct answers was the cutoff for 99.5 percentile. 17 out of 34, so half the number of questions. Okay, and it's similar. 17 to 20 correct questions in quant means you have a fantastic quant sectional. So you don't have to solve all the questions. The moment you get this understanding that your job is not to show that you can solve all questions, you will find it less daunting. Okay, so if we just break कि क्या होता है quant में broadly, so we have arithmetic, algebra, number system, we have geometry mensuration, and we have modern math. So look, there is no compromise with arithmetic and algebra. These two topics is what I focused on. Like, I wanted to make these two topics my strength. I work maximum on these two topics. The reason being, more than at least half of your quant section is going to be these two topics. The remaining half, उनके question solve करने के लिए भी, you might know the formula, but to solve them, you still need arithmetic algebra. Third point, at least 3 to 4 of your LRDI set need you to know arithmetic and algebra. So arithmetic and algebra are your core. You cannot compromise on them. So that is why even the teaching schedule in CL, you would realize as you go on, they focus, they take arithmetic and algebra slow. They give more time to it, more focus to it, because they are the foundation things. Having said this, the other topics, the topics that you find difficult, I will suggest don't leave any topic entirely. Like, I found permutation, combination, probability difficult. I didn't have time for it towards the end. But I didn't leave them entirely. Know the basics of those difficult topics. The difficult topics may be different for different people. Know the basics, know the basic formula, because there are times when there are sitters from those difficult topics. Questions where, you just have to apply a formula and you get the answer. So if you've left a topic entirely, you will regret. You will feel like, ये तो बहुत easy सवाल था. If I just knew this basic formula, there are questions on progressions. A lot of people find progressions difficult. There are certain times you get sitters from that. बस एक formula लगाना है, you get the answer. So, focus on arithmetic algebra. This is something. Another thing is that this is something everyone has done till standard 10th. ठीक है, तो ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई एरोनॉटिकल इंजीनियर हो, कुछ भी हो, 10th तक अरिथमेटिक अलजेब्रा सबने पढ़ी है. So it's not something Greek and Latin to you. Just have to go back, refresh that. And second thing is that this is something I faced in my first few mocks and sectionals in quant, is that uh, you know, there are times when we are not able to reach the end of the section of quant. So quant starts from question number 67, goes on till 100, something like that. There were times I was able to reach only till 92, 93. Then after the exam, when I'm test, I'm looking at the questions. I realized that asked 7, 8 questions, may say 3, 4 were very easy, and I knew them. So you need to start practicing. You have to time yourself that you have to have a look at all 34 questions, because you know questions are mixed randomly. ऐसा नहीं है कि easy वाले पहले या बाद में, they are mixed random. So last 5 questions may have 3 easy questions. You don't want to miss out on those. So again, the same point comes back, is that you have to train yourself to identify the difficult questions, identify your weak areas. So maybe, you know, mensuration is something you find difficult. छोड़ देना mensuration का सवाल, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. It's better than, you know, spending 3 minutes on it and then leaving it or marking a wrong answer. Rather than you leave it, you maybe find number system easy. You attempt that. And there are two, you know, tips that I can give again as a non-engineer, that, you know, again, here, this is not a test. CAT is not a test of your mathematical knowledge or intelligence. It's a test of your aptitude. So a lot of times there are ways to solve a question where, you know, you're not necessarily doing all the steps. एक textbook mathematical way में आप सवाल नहीं कर रहे हो. Maybe in a school exam you would get a 1 out of 5 for that method. So one of the methods is substitution. Okay, that really helps in a lot of questions, especially algebra, sometimes other topics also. Again, this will come from practice. ऐसा नहीं है कि, you know, on the day of exam you think that, okay, I'll try substituting from the answer into the question, it will work. It might not. But from now on, if you try and practice, it is a handy backup to have. Okay, maybe algebra question में you feel, okay, I know half of it, but कैसे करना है पता नहीं. It'll save time. Try and substituting the answer values into the question. Only one of them will fit. The one that fits is your answer. A lot of questions, you know, you'll realize as you practice, can be worked out from common sense and eliminating of options in quant. There are questions on number system, you know, big numbers, complicated stuff, huge number multiplied by huge number, there'll be 4 options. Okay, but you will be able to eliminate 3 options based on, so, you know, even number multiplied by an even number gives an even number. So however big the numbers may be, if the last 2 digits are even, the last digit of the answer should be even. So there'll be 4 options. 3 options might have a last digit as odd. You don't even need to solve that question. You can eliminate those 3. The answer with the even last digit is your answer. So these are few examples that are coming to the top of my head. But as you go along, if you have this mindset, you can find out that there will be questions you'll be able to solve this way. So, you know, people who are weak in maths, this is a huge boost for them. He sirf formula और ही नहीं चाहिए. Sometimes common sense can get you the answer, maybe even faster in fact.
Perfect, Mukul. Perfect. Well said. One thing more, while you were talking, is something that struck my mind. Is a lot of people tell me कि मैथ्स देख के डर लगता है. तो for all those people जो मुझसे ये कहते हैं कि मैथ्स देख के डर लगता है, what is your idea? मतलब how should they approach maths? Maths is a section that you cannot leave completely. Now how should they approach? कि मेरे को मैथ्स मेरे पास 5 महीने हैं अभी. Let's try understanding this. I have 5 months and मेरे को मैथ्स देख के डर लगता है. Numbers is not something I'm very comfortable with.
Don't firstly, don't, at this point in time, don't look at it as an entire section. Okay, if you look at it, okay, quant is one whole section with so many topics, it is going to be overwhelming. Okay, start small. Okay, start with smaller topics. Like, you know, you need to try and develop interest in that. This is the way it starts. I like this fact very much, that, you know, the quant syllabus at CL, our quant syllabus starts with the first important topic is percentage. Something like percentage, and उसमें profit loss ये सब आता है. So, you know, try and treat them as real life examples. Percentage के सवाल क्या होते हैं? They are, you know, money related questions, some property related questions. Those are things that, you know, you can relate with real life. Profit loss के questions. Okay, this boy bought 10 pens, he sold 8 of them. This boy bought 8, sold 10. You know, these are very real life scenarios, real life questions, real life circumstances. things that, ultimately going ahead in any kind of job also you have to use, and we use them in our daily lives without realizing consciously. But I would say at this point, try realizing them consciously, try to find real life connections, try to find some interest in the wordings of the question, in the scenario the question paints. अगर वो आने लग गया ना, then your attention will shift from the number part of maths, which is daunting, to the fun part of it. So you have to start like that, because see, it is difficult. So I found LRDI difficult initially. ठीक है, समझ नहीं आ रहा था how to pick. But just saying it is difficult feels like a dead end, right? So you have to find ways how to make things interesting, make things palatable, make things easier.
Okay, Mukul. So I feel I'm done with these sections here. Verbal ability is there, DILR is there, and then I had QA in hand. Now, one last question from my end, and then I would possibly take some questions from the students through the chat. It's basically with respect to the interview test preparation, because a lot of students would also look at how to go about with the interview test preparation. You start for one ISB interview and you nailed it. ISB is
So
one of the most difficult interviews. If I had my experiences of talking to students for quite some time now, ISB would be one of the most difficult experiences. ISB would be decently difficult to nail. So, if you can tell everyone as to what is an interviewer looking for, and how would you go about the interview process to begin with? What is an interviewer actually looking for in a student, and what would your advice be to students who are looking to
see,
prepare?
try and understanding this statement that I would say right now. So CAT or any exam such as this is a elimination process. ठीक है, CAT का purpose होता है छांटना. Basically, it after your CAT is done and everything, there'll be a minimum cutoff and stuff like that, and people below that will not be shortlisted. People above that will be shortlisted. So it's an elimination process. The purpose of CAT is to eliminate people below a certain score, whatever that score may be. Interviews is a selection process. An interviewer, whoever is interviewing a shortlisted candidate, is sitting there looking to select that candidate. Contrary to what we feel that interviewer to sirf is there to point out my flaws and grill me and all that. But no, the interviewer is there to select that candidate. The interviewer is looking for the strengths of the candidate. It's a selection process. The moment you understand this, you will realize that in an interview, the locus of control is in your hands. You can steer the conversation in the direction of your area of strength. Now, what are the interviewers looking for, as you asked? So, interviewer is basically looking for your interests, your strengths, your accomplishments in a variety of domains, such as academics, co-curriculars, extracurriculars, hobbies, interests, current affairs, and your overall personality as such. So your job is to convey to the interviewer, and and no interviewer sitting there is expecting a person to be skilled or strong in all these aspects that I've mentioned. Again, all these aspects, your job is to pick out two, if possible, three domains, be it academics, extracurriculars, hobbies, interests, be it current affairs, be it anything, जो तुम्हारा strength हो, and you need to play to that strength. Now, again, to summarize, there are two things. When we are talking about areas of strength, so let's say that, for example, I say that, okay, I am interested in politics, for example, let's say. So there are two things in areas of strength that an interviewer is looking for. One is knowledge, the other thing is commitment. कहने का मतलब है कि if a candidate is saying that okay, मेरे को इस XYZ चीज में interest है या ये मेरा strong point है, so does that candidate know about that thing? अगर मेरे को politics में interest है, so do I know about Indian politics currently? Do I know about world politics? American elections में क्या होने वाला है, क्या हो रहा है, क्या opinion है, do I know about that? अगर वो मेरा field of interest है, so I should know about that. Second is commitment. Say, what is your hobby? My hobby is arts and craft. So, or my extracurricular is arts and craft. So if I'm saying my extracurricular is arts and craft, have I put, have I invested time in it? Have I participated in any competitions? Have I represented my school in any art and craft event? मैंने क्या किया है to show that oh, art and craft is actually my extracurricular. So knowledge and commitment, if you're able to demonstrate these two things, and mostly you will be the one defining where your interview is going. Academics, अगर कोई बोलता है academics strength, mechanical engineer, academics strength, college topper, whatever it is, thermodynamics का आपको idea है, you know about it. No, fresher के लिए academics becomes more important. For a person with work X, they have to know about their work, what they have done. So again, everything in each domain, it will boil down to two things: knowledge and commitment. If you are able to demonstrate these two things in anything that you're saying, you will be good to go. See, interviews hate frivolous attitudes and frivolous statements. No one will like that, okay, my passion is mountain biking. Do you know anything about it? Have you ever done it? Agar nahi, so you come out, that is not a good impression you would want to make. So again, always keep these two things in mind: knowledge and commitment to that point that you're trying to make. See, interview is a big topic in its own. In the given time, it can be a different session altogether. In the given time, whatever little I could, tell you, I think, yeah, this would.
Perfect, Mukul. So these are, I believe, all the questions from my end. Anyone, if he or she wishes to ask a question to Mukul, I believe Mukul has answered almost all questions that I could summarize from whatever questions that you had sent me. Any one of you, if you wish to ask any other question, feel free to put it on the chat. We would be live for the next 5 minutes. So I would like Mukul to answer those questions. If any of you feel that any question has been left unanswered or you are seeking an answer to any question, okay, please do use the chat box to write down your question. And I hope Mukul would love to take it. Mukul, there is a question for you.
Yes, sir.
So this Lokesh is there. He says, my elder brother has an academic of 88, I believe class 10th, 62, class 12th, 80 in graduation. So is there any chance for him to get into A, B, C or FMS or XLRI?
So,
Do I answer that question?
I actually heard this question from a lot of people in the last few months.
Okay.
So, shortlisting for an interview in the IIM, so for that matter, any college, they take into criteria a number of factors, right? Starting from your 10th score, 12th score, your graduation, your work ex, your gender, your CAT, and then the things that you do on the day of interview, which is, the writing test, the PI, and GD if it is applicable. So now the thing is that, realistically, a lot of these things that I've mentioned, for many of the things, nothing can be done. We cannot go back and change our 10th score, 12th score. Agar koi graduate kar raha hai, then yeah, I would suggest, in your final year, put effort, try and score as much in your graduation because it will help you in that interview phase. But most of the aspirants have already graduated, so you can't change that. Some people have work ex, the people who don't have work ex can't change that at this point in time. Gender का भी अब कुछ नहीं हो सकता, it's too late. जो है वही है. So guys don't crave about that too. What you can change is the CAT and the things that you do on that day of exam. Now, I'll tell you statistics related to the question that will answer it for you. So about 75 to 80% of the weightage of the final selection depends upon CAT and the events that happen on the day of the interview. That is the writing test and the personal interview and the GD if it is applicable. Only a 10 to 15% weightage is there for the things that have happened in the past. So I don't think that any particular one performance in the past, like you mentioned, the 60. So yes, in that component, your brother will get less marks, but he has chance to make up for it in a number of other components. A great CAT score or a great interview or a good writing assessment can easily compensate for that. So there is no point losing hope or crying over that fact कि अरे मेरा तो वो है तो हो ही नहीं सकता. It doesn't work that way. So see, you can't change that. So any time or effort spent on that is a waste. So keep that in mind that yeah, your brother might have to work a little extra in one of the components to maybe compensate for that 2 or 3 that he'll lose there, but he has a fair enough chance if he does well in CAT and his interviews.
Okay. Lokesh, to add to what Mukul had said, if you look at FMS and XLRI, they do not look at your past academic background. They simply
FMS
look
doesn't.
at your CAT score, your your GD interview performance. Both for FMS and XLRI, that is the way that goes. They do not look into your past academic scores. Uh, if I have to say XLRI, I know a few people, I know a few students who have passed out of XLRI with 45% marks in their graduation. This year, IMC, I am aware of people who have got with 60% marks in graduation. So the only idea that I would suggest, in addition to what Mukul has said, what matters is the CAT day and the day of the GD interview. Prior to that, whatever you have done, you technically cannot change. So there is no point looking back, but the only idea is to look forward and do better every day. Okay, Mukul, there is another question that I have come across. I'll just again, this is a question from one of the students. Like, let's say any student who has a 2-year time, the person looking for a CAT 2021. Mukul, am I audible?
Yeah, totally.
So if anyone looking for a CAT 2021, what should be the approach right now?
Right. So, I have not experienced this personally, but in my understanding during preparation, I would definitely say this that extra time definitely is an advantage. There is no doubt about it. But so let's answer it in two ways. First, the positives. Positives are you've got extra time. You can pace yourself, get into the depths of topics that at times, say quant or anything, when we have 5 to 6 months, there are times certain topics we don't have time enough to get to the real depth of it. Certain weak topics remain. You will have time to really ace those things well. Second thing is that again the process doesn't end at CAT, since we've been discussing interviews and shortlisting and everything. So, and you're clear that you want to attempt CAT in 21 and you want to go down this road. So use this time to build your profile, because after CAT you don't have much time. So try and participate in events that interest you, take part in certain competitions, try and learn a skill, pick up a hobby, something you can do given the amount of time you have. So these are the positives. One is the profile building that will help you in the interview stage. Second is the extra time that can help you academically for CAT. One point where I would ask you to be careful is that to not be complacent, whether you have 2 years or 5 years. The last 5 months before your 21 exam, you will have to prepare as if you had only those 5 months. You cannot distribute your effort proportionately over the 2 years. I don't think that is going to yield a very positive result. Last 3-4 months there, you will have to gear up and put, because it is not about the number of hours or how much you understood a concept or anything. It is about being in that zone, being in that frame of mind, getting that practice, things happening involuntarily. That will happen only if in those last 3-4 months you really step it up. So use this phase to build your basics, work on your profile, but keep in mind that the last 3-4 months you will prepare like anyone who started preparing 21. Because don't think, oh, I've been preparing since 2 years and get complacent. That is not going to be in your favor.
Perfect, Mukul. Mukul, I think I'll take the one more question that has come up. So there is Shubham. He is saying for a BAT, I believe, writing ability test. Should I start practicing from now?
See, I would say that do not start practicing actively for VAT right now, because see, what do you need for VAT? You need knowledge, right? You need to know about things, and the other aspect is to articulate and put them on paper. So unknowingly, half or of your preparation for VAT will be going on right now through your RCs. Just read for your RCs and try to retain as much as read different. Again, in VAT there is no syllabus. Topics can come from anything and everything. It is very similar to the RC domain ki kuch bhi aa sakta hai. So read for the RCs, as we have talked about eclectic reading, read about a variety of topics, try to retain as much as you can. A lot of things will subconsciously get retained, and do not worry about the writing aspect right now, because you know focusing on too many things at one point is probably going to be counterproductive. Get the knowledge part right now, and after your CAT, believe me, there is sufficient time, more than sufficient time. That is when you can work on the writing part. You can work on the articulation part. CL will help you, your teachers will help you, and the knowledge that you've accumulated, assimilated in this period, reading for your RCs, that will be your first step, and that is the most important step actually. That will be already done. Then you can just figure out how to put that on paper. What is the best way to go about it? The structure, the format. You have enough time after that. So I would not suggest doing the writing part right now.
Perfect, Mukul. One or two more questions. These are the last two questions that I believe we'll take. So Aniket here is saying that sir, I'm not good in communicative English. I cannot talk well in English. So is it a negative point during the interview?
See, so yes, a good communication is needed, no doubt about it. But the interview is a long time away, right? So take it step by step. Communication. See, there are in English, right? There are four basic parameters of English. They are reading, writing, listening, and speaking, and all parameters are interlinked to each other. The more you read, the more you listen, the better you will write, the better you will speak. So you are saying you have issues in speaking. So I would say the first step to improve your speaking is to improve your reading and your listening. So again, we come back to the same thing. You have to read for your RCs. Read as much as you can. That will give you knowledge. That will give you information. Most of the times, why are people hesitant while speaking? Because we don't know what to speak. There is a dearth of information in our head. When you have that information, it becomes easier. So read right now. Try communicating with your friends intermittently. Don't get very bogged down by that lack you feel that in your communication English. You can schedule sessions with sir weekly, just half an hour. You can just sit and chat with him in English. As simple as that, about anything. Till your CAT. Till your CAT, your priority should be CAT. Keep working on these things side by side. And after CAT, believe me, sir will make sure the amount of practice he'll give you in your PDP sessions and the number of times you will have to, answer those questions, give practice interviews, all the hesitation will go. Doing the same thing over and over again for a month or month and a half every day will be enough. So, a bit of that responsibility you can leave on sir, and I think he will take care of that aspect after that.
Perfect, Mukul. So I think I'll take this as the last question. You have already been answering questions for the last 70 minutes, so it has been a long time answering questions. So this is one question that has come up from Prachi. She's asking, like, taking a drop after graduation for CAT, and I'm without a work experience. Will it hamper me in any way?
Not really, not really. See, these are again a lot of these myths and generalizations that uh, float around, and there is no fixed rule to any of this. Okay, so there are a lot of people in my batch. There were my friends when we were preparing in CL. There were people who had taken a drop, and today they have got nice colleges. They'll be joining this year. So there is nothing like taking a drop here or taking a break for preparation is an absolute contraindication. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. You just need to be able to justify it if it is asked in your interview. ठीक है? And there are many ways it can get justified in itself. Say you were an average student, above average student in your college, but you have a fantastic CAT. If that is there, then on paper your gap is justified. That okay, here we have an average student, maybe slightly above average student, who put in the time, who worked really hard, and there's a significant improvement in the performance. So something like this you can easily justify that gap. Or, if you want to be even more on the safer side, if you have time, if you can just, have something on the side, not necessarily a typical full day job, maybe some hobby you can work on, maybe some voluntary project you can work on, something you can work on, then it again becomes very easy to justify that, see, okay, I was preparing for CAT, I needed time for it, but it's not that I was not doing anything else at all. I was doing this. If you have a family business, say, I'm just, everyone's different, right? Everyone has different circumstances, different challenges. Go there, get to know about it, that, okay, yeah, I spend time here. You can intern somewhere for a couple of months. You can do certain things which won't take much time, and it will give you a cushion to speak about if this point is raised. Or you can drastically improve your performance. That itself, takes care of this problem. But this is not a absolute contraindication, because believe me, many candidates are there who do take a break. So, if that was true, none of them would ever be selected.
Perfect, Mukul. I believe we have been speaking for almost 75 minutes now. It has been wonderful interacting with you. Matlab, I still can feel the zeal, the energy that I found while I had conducted some mock interviews with you. So the zeal and the energy still remains the same, and I hope you charter new territories and new paths as you move into your future. मतलब you have fascinated me with during the interview process. जहाँ तक मुझे याद है, I felt good having interviewed you. Even today, I
Thank you,
got
sir.
to feel the genuineness and the sincerity with which you have answered a lot of questions. It is really applaudable. Um, so with this, possibly Mukul and with all the other students, I would like to end this session. Thank you, Mukul. It was
Yes.
really nice to have you with the Zoom session with all these students on and listening to you. I believe a lot of them would have gained something or the other from this session. So I like to call it an end. Thank you, Mukul, and thank you everyone for having joined this session. I'll be ending the session now. Fine. Thank you all of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
sir. All the best, everyone.